Yeah, so my dad was a mountain guide, and so I grew up in the mountains. I started climbing when I was 3, and it has always been part of my life. You know, for a long time, I didn't really know anything else, but I wasn't really obsessed by it until I was a teenager, and I started to understand exactly how, you know, kind of how special the activity is, and then I got totally obsessed. I mean, it was like a life inflection point. I kind of think of my life in terms of what led up to that and what happened since. And, you know, 6 days of captivity where we lost like 20 pounds. We were in the high mountains. It was incredibly scary. But a lot of really good things came out of it. Like, you know, we suffered so much that we had to endure more than I really would have ever thought was humanly possible. And so I've always had this curiosity about that ever since. I've wanted to explore more about that. It's like in Kyrgyzstan, I saw the other side. And so it really led to things like the Dawn Wall, which is primarily what the movie's about. Yeah, so in a lot of ways, the sport of big wall climbing, El Capitan is like center stage. It's in Yosemite National Park. It's easy to get to. It's a beautiful, giant wall with perfect rock. And so when I was a child, I'd go there and my dad would climb different routes on El Cap, and I'd sit in the meadow below, El Cap Meadow, and watch him. And then just hang out with this eccentric group of, you know, kind of crazy climbers that were into this kind of thing. And, yeah, so then when I was a teenager, of course, I was like, I want to do that. It was something that I watched these guys do when I was really young. Nowadays, we do it in a slightly different way. They used to aid climb it, which is a really mechanical method. You, like, attach ladders to the wall, and then you climb these ladders. Now we climb it the same way you do in a climbing gym. You actually use your fingertips. And so it's a bit more of a, like, when you're aid climbing it, you know you're going to make it to the top eventually. When you're free climbing it, there's always a question of whether you're physically going to be able to do it. Yeah, I mean, I had climbed like 10 different big routes on El Capitan previous to the Dawn Wall, and I was the guy who spent the most time up there, so I started to wonder, like, what is the limit of what's possible up here? So I started looking around on the right side of the wall, which is steeper and bigger and blanker. There's no obvious crack system. It doesn't look like there's much to hold on to. And so first I went at it as just like a question, is this possible? And then, you know, there was kind of a glimmer of hope, and that's what drove me for 7 years until we actually completed it. Yeah, so shortly after Kyrgyzstan, I was, you know, I bought a little cabin in my home of Estes Park, Colorado, rundown thing that I bought for like $30,000, and I was remodeling it. I was quite young. I didn't really know how to remodel things. I was just buying books and trying to figure it out, and I was using a table saw improperly and chopped off my finger, which is like a big deal as a climber, you know. It's all about finger strength. And so I wondered if I was going to be able to continue to climb sort of professionally, which I was sort of on the brink of that. And so its effect on me was that it made me realize how much I love that life and how much I didn't want to lose it. And so it was the time in my life where I doubled down, and I actually got a lot better because of chopping off my finger. Yeah, I mean, I think my story in a nutshell is about taking these hard experiences in life and sort of turning them around and using them as fuel. And so, you know, Kyrgyzstan, my finger, and, you know, my divorce with my wife, who I was very close to, were all kind of examples of that. They all led to some sort of like major growth in my life.